Mm. Okay. Hello, everyone. This is Christina, the Black Swan Sybil, greeting you in the love and the light of the one infinite creator. Welcome to our cosmic conversation when we are gathering together for the purpose of crystallizing unity consciousness, which is what we were embodying on this planet. Be sure to subscribe to this channel and share this link so that more people will be able to see it. Let's shake up those algorithms and usher in 5D. I guess you can tell I'm excited to introduce you to a very special guest today. Her name is Hilary Marie. Hilary is a self-employed single mom and a musician and music promoter. Welcome, Hilary.
Thanks for having me.
Thank you. I'm so happy to talk to you. I'm so excited. We talk online like,
For
for
like the
years.
last 4 years, I think, something like that.
Right. So this is like, it's like meeting an old friend. It's weird.
Right.
So I will start with the same questions I ask everybody. It's basically about your story. Like, were you always in touch with spirituality? What beliefs were you raised with? How did you get from your old beliefs to your new ones? What was your awakening experience catalyst? And how'd you get from there to here?
Okay. I'm excited.
Me too. So yeah, where do you want to start?
Anywhere.
Yeah, where were your, how did you grow up? What were the beliefs that you were raised with?
So my father grew up Church of Christ. My mom grew up Methodist. Neither of them practiced really in the home. It felt like more like it was a Sunday thing. But then, I've got several family members who are also in ministry. So the ideology was definitely indoctrinated within me. But I did never have like a true understanding of it. It was just more like rules and like feeling guilty for breaking rules. Yeah, just a lot of that. It got very, they really pushed it on me whenever I think I was 14-ish, and my brother was the youth minister at our church. He's 10 years older than me. I was going through a lot of struggles, dealing with my trauma that I didn't realize that I had at the time, with drug addiction, sex, drinking, and just really toxic things, running away and trying to kill myself. And so their solution was, we're just going to make her go to church 5 days a week. So that's what I did.
Would you say that your trauma came from your childhood? I mean,
yes.
Not to roll your parents under the bus, but I mean, they were religious, they weren't spiritual, and it wasn't based on love, it was based on control.
Yeah, and not my mom so much, more my dad. My parents were in a very toxic marriage for about 30 years. So there was just a lot of fighting and just a lot of turmoil in the house that really just kind of shut me down, and some other things that I'm not ready to really talk about publicly because of the legal nature of things. But yeah, it was hard. And my mom finally left whenever I became pregnant, whenever I was 19, because she decided she's not bringing another child through that, because she had seen how it manifested in myself and in my brothers. But when she did leave, my brothers cut communication with her because of the religious indoctrination of, you don't get divorced. And it's been about over 14 years, and they have not let go of that yet.
I feel that.
So, yeah, it's hard. I've had a lot of counseling because of it. It's been like my entire family is just broken. So I'm at a place now where I'm able to be grateful for that brokenness, because it's allowed me to build something new, something that's more suitable for me and for my daughter. And I still have the relationship with my mom that never stopped. She's been by my side 100% all the way. So I'm very grateful for her.
Yeah. Do you feel like Well, do you feel like you were spiritual during all that time? Like you've had a connection to something else? Like,
Yeah, always, always. Even, at church, I felt the Holy Spirit, even though I didn't quite understand it. It was there. I've always been a lucid dreamer. I've always thought that I was, more powerful than I was taught to believe. So yeah, that connection has always been there, except after my family broke, when I was 19. My brother became a preacher around that time, and he was kind of influential with my relation with Christianity, and seeing, his trauma manifest in his own life, and how that was very opposite of the way that he was, preaching, um, really turned me away from Christianity. And I spent about 9 years as an atheist.
mhm.
Just, I shut it all out. Like, God's not real. We're just an experiment. There's no compassion for us. It doesn't matter what happens in this life. And it's really something that I had to kind of like push myself to believe like that, so that I could separate myself from all of that pain.
Yeah.
Because if God's real, then I have to accept that this is that this is his doing. And I didn't want to believe that. But it, it became very apparent to me whenever I was 29, that I do have a very strong connection with spirituality, very strong. And yeah.
What was the catalyst that helped you recognize that?
Um, I am a multiple time sexual trauma survivor. Um, I've been in abusive relationships. Um, I think it was in 2014 when I took a stand against my family, and also against other people, that I'm done. I'm done with this behavior. I'm done with the language that you use. I'm done with these relationships. And that same year, I had a cancer scare. I had my yearly pap smear, and they suspected cervical cancer. So I get into kind of researching it, and became very angry, and because cervical cancer just doesn't happen. In cancer in general, just it's not just like this random thing that you get. There's a cause to it. And some of the causes are, HPV, like contracting the HPV through intercourse, birth control pills, which I had been on since I was 14. And I think, yeah, those are the two. And then obviously a poor diet, very acidic diet. So that was a revelation to me that really got me thinking about the choices that I was making health-wise. And in about 2 years, I became just so stressed out that I had to just stop drinking alcohol, because my body just started rejecting it. So those things happen. And then I also had a relationship with somebody who was my first kiss, someone that I had been with, for the course of 15 years on and off. And that had always, somewhat been there for me. And they came back into my life in the Lionsgate of 2015. And just all these experiences started to happen, where I was having premonition dreams. I was feeling the physical effects of whatever he was going through. Like he would have a headache and he would be 2 hours away, and I'm like, have the same headache. Then just the empath abilities just really started getting very, very strong. And that relationship obviously became toxic because I was toxic and he was toxic. And it just got to a point where we had to let go of that. And I think after all of the loss that I had experienced in my life, with my family, with friends, with ex-boyfriends, that one I had held so close to me because we had had such a long relationship with each other. It broke me to my core. But what he was going through at the time, I was feeling all of it. And I began having like IBS. I could not, like, I was throwing up all the time. I was lethargic. My adrenals were shot because I was feeling everything that he was going through. And my body just shut down. And I had started researching some of these, psychic things that were going on. And I began learning more about it and learning about how to heal it. And I started using Reiki. I had a stomach ulcer for 10 years. I did one Reiki on myself. It was focused on inner child wounds. And that I have not had a pain in my stomach since that day.
Amazing.
I mean, I tried everything, that having an ulcer is just one of the most like gnawing, annoying pains. Because it just sticks with you all day. You can't get rid of it. So I found something that worked. And so I began exploring more and learning about crystals and, meditation and yoga and quantum healing, numerology and astrology, and really following those outlets to look at myself, through astrology and numerology to see, where am I out of balance? How can I become more in balance? And just working all of those things has helped to transform my life.
That was 2015, you said?
Yeah. Uh-huh. I know it's a big year for a lot of people.
Yeah, I mean, I've been talking to a lot of people, and all this parallel when I started. I got off all the medication. I started using binaural beats to activate my chakras, and I was physically feeling them because I'd been numb for all this time. Suddenly, my senses are back, and I'm able to feel. And I just realized when you're talking, that could be described. I mean, it's like, duh, I'm not even saying anything new, but I just had this awareness come over me that it's like, okay, you're naming all these tools like crystals and Reiki, and it's all of us remembering our connection to the oneness through these avenues.
Exactly.
That's all those are, and for our religions to tell us. I mean, I don't want to go too far off, your introduction video, but I mean, what's behind that? What kind of person would tell beings not to meditate and only to meditate on scripture and, limit you to this thing and say that all these other things are Satan or bad?
Yeah, that was never going to work for me. I question everything.
I tried, but I'm so connected to the one, I just never couldn't,
Right.
I mean, that's a narcissistic behavior.
It is.
Sorry, people who are still waiting for Jesus. I love you, but I want you to know that God is a narcissist, the God of the church. That's right. That's a classic. I mean, you look up narcissist and sociopath. That's
right. And the Bible was written by man, so I just feel like my personal relationship with the universe or God or whatever, and it's something that I don't even like to label, but it's something that I can't label it, like I can't be like, here's the rules. Right. Like God is so big that he doesn't have, I mean, there's like gratitude and positivity and healing and trust and, all of these wholesome things that we need to center our lives on and not the negative things. But the idea that he has like handwritten rules for us, I don't know, that it just all seems very agenda driven.
It does.
To me.
I just like to say two things about that. 1 John 4:8 says God is love, which is that should be unconditional love.
Right.
So
right.
There's that. And the second thing is, I realized I can channel too. This book is a channeled book by people, material beings, and we each have a lens. So anything that is channeled comes through your lens, right? So yes, it's a channeled message, but it's not necessarily a divine, infallible message from an all-wise, all-knowing, benevolent, unconditionally loving God. If it was, the language would reflect such.
Right.
So it's mixed. Did these guys clear themselves? Did they
Mhm.
set an intention before they started channeling, or did they just sit down and write and go, oh my gosh, my hand is just going, what is this? Oh, it must be God, because
Right. And I don't feel like God would actually think that we would need to depend on a 2,000-year-old book. That's not the last time that anything, any messages came down for us. And I think that's something he's constantly putting out messages for us, or the universe. I get kind of weird about using the word God sometimes, or even giving him a masculine pronoun.
yes,
So I usually just say the universe, because that's what I believe God is. It's everything,
yes,
all the things, and that God is in every single one of us. And so, I'm not weaker or smaller because I didn't exist 2,000 years ago and end up in this book. No, there are messages that come through me that are meant for other people to hear. And for the ones that it's not meant for, then they can just tune it out.
yeah,
It's not meant for everybody, because there's so many of us. We all have a different thing that we might need to hear.
absolutely. Messages are coming through now, today, not just then. And the messages, like
Right.
you said, are for people who need to hear it and people who resonate with that message. And last time I'm going to say anything about the Bible, that message is for a particular purpose. What is the message and who is it for? Right. And if
Right.
you resonate with that message, then, maybe it is for you. Maybe you need to know what it's like to feel controlled and like um, an unworthy.
Maybe they needed controlled back then. I
Yeah.
don't know. They were
Yeah.
at way different levels than we are now.
Yeah. It's definitely, there's more behind it. And I'm sure we could, like I said, go talk about it.
We could talk about it all day.
We'll add this to our next video. Be sure to subscribe.
Right. And whenever and I know you have strong ties with religion and have had, probably a traumatic experience with it as well. And there's tons of us that are like this, and that we just get put in a category of an unbeliever or people who hate God. And that's not it at all.
I'm an apostate.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah, it's funny because talking to you about this, I didn't realize that I was still angry, but I can hear myself, and probably on playback. I apologize, everyone. I'm still working through my shadows. I'm still not a perfect being yet. When I am, I'll fly over and say hi. But
Right. It's a big one to clear. It really is,
yeah,
because whenever religion definitely impacts your core values and the way that move around in this life. And then whenever you realize that some of those things that were taught to you from man are the very reasons for your suffering, it's easy to get angry, because you thought you were doing the right thing, and you thought that you were guided by someone who had your best interest at heart.
I think the reason why I got into religion is because my greatest fear was being myself. And so
Mm-hmm.
getting into religion gave me a place where I could be what they wanted me to be. And I could,
Right.
get some kind of validation. It never came. I never felt worthy. I never felt like good. But
Mm-hmm.
I avoided my fear of being myself for a really long time.
Right.
That's how it benefited me.
Right. And practicing a religion does not guarantee a connection with God.
Right.
You can practice all those things, but that doesn't mean that you have a ongoing connection with God. And I think, there are times where I just look around and I'm like, oh, that's God. Oh, that's God. Oh, that's God. And I just see it in everything.
Yeah.
Like I was playing a gig last night, and the place that I was at, it was full. There were no spaces. And I knew I had like 4 people coming in to see me, and I was like, shoot, I need to call them
Mm-hmm.
and let them know. And then the 2 people, like there were 2 tables, because it was 2 couples that were coming in. They had just left, and so there were 2 tables right in front of me. And then my 2 people come in. I was like, oh, see, that was God. That's perfect.
Yeah. Divine timing. Yes,
Yeah.
let's talk about your music. So you're a musician, and
Mm-hmm.
you've always been, ever since a child, you have has your art evolved with your perspective, with your beliefs, your knowings of your oneness with all that is?
Well, I started performing when I was 3 years old. I sang at the company picnic, a cappella. I think it was no, it was like I'm proud to be an American or Amazing Grace or something. I love singing. It's very, it's like meditation for me. It's very therapeutic. It feels so good to do. I played piano. I took like 10 years of voice lessons, it was good to teach me how to control my voice. But, after I stopped taking voice lessons, I found that it was really hard for me to come into my own voice because I was so worried, again, about those rules.
Right.
Yeah. Um, so there came a point in time, and it was 2015, where I was just kind of miserable, with my job. And I was like, man, I have got to do something with music. And I tried to play the guitar forever, and guitars have a lot of, it just hurts your fingers. So I went and I bought an electric guitar, which are a lot easier on your fingers. And I started learning all the chords and everything. And then eventually a year later, I bought an acoustic and started practicing songs. And then I started live streaming in 2017, and during the Lionsgate of 2017. And I made my first $100 tip on it was like an eclipse or something. It was like August 22nd, and the closeout of Lionsgate. Lionsgate's always a big one for me. And I played, and it was really good. And then I got really sick because I learned that I had food allergies. I think as my body continued to upgrade, it became more and more sensitive to things that I shouldn't be putting in my body. And so there was like 3 or 4 months where I didn't even get off the couch. I wasn't working or anything. And I was guided to my holistic nutritionist, who's also my Kundalini yoga teacher. And she helped put me back together. And within, I think, 3 or 4 months, I had my first gig. And then I had another gig. And then I started doing it full time, paying my bills, playing music.
That's
Yeah.
powerful.
It was amazing.
Yeah.
It was earth shattering for me to know that I could do that. So, as you know, and I've been a single mom most of my life, and my daughter has had a lot of issues with asthma.
Mm-hmm.
And so I had to leave work to go be with her in the hospital. And then I'd get fired because I couldn't be at work because I had to be at home with my daughter.
Mm-hmm.
And so now I have this, this way to make a living doing what I love that doesn't require me to be out of the house for 40 hours a week. And I've slowly integrated other, things that I can do. I'm also a bookkeeper. So I have individual clients that I work for. So I have that streamlining that bookkeeping income. And then I started recently doing booking and promotion for my community, for venues, having concerts, live music and stuff. So it's funny because 2017, I didn't even get out of the house. Like, I didn't know anybody in Emerald. I've been here for 10 years.
Yeah.
And now I leave the house and I always see like 3 or 4 people that I know and have to stop and talk to them. And I'm so much more connected now than I've ever been in my entire life. I'm not afraid to get out of the house. I don't worry about who I'm going to run into anymore. It's just, I'll stop by. If I'm close to someone's business, I'll just stop by and say hi. It's the weirdest thing.
So would you say that by reconnecting with your true self and doing what you love it's totally changed your life? Like, it's put you in touch and connected you not just with yourself, but with people who vibe with you.
Oh yeah. Like I could barely keep a job, and now I'm like dependent on multiple people to sustain my life. And so where I couldn't even keep like a relationship, now I have all these relationships that I'm easily able to maintain and constantly gaining more relationships. And it's because I changed the way that I related to myself. It's because I came into myself. I stopped hiding from who I am. And I started living my truth. And I try to be as transparent and authentic with people as I possibly can, because a lot of my suffering is related to the fact that, you know, I grew up religious and we didn't talk about certain things. And, you know, I had to be ashamed of some of the things that I've done. And now I can just talk about them because I know everybody's going through them.
Yeah.
You know, we shouldn't have to suffer in silence. We should be able to talk about all of it.
Yeah, your life is a shamanic journey.
Yes.
A full human experience, you know?
Yes.
And maybe you could share a little more about finding that harmony with your health, because, you know, I watched your podcast. I listened to your podcast on Hey Amarillo. I think everybody should
Yeah.
listen to it. I thought it was great. And I'll leave the link like in the box below so other people can hear it. But, you know, not to minimize your experience with addiction and, um, you know, lack of self-love and all the unhealthy habits. You know, we don't eat right. We feed our bodies crappy things. We don't rest enough, right? And then we realize, hey, this is my vessel. I need to take care of it. Do you think, I mean, obviously, I guess the reason why I'm asking this question is because I heard someone say who was in the spiritual community that food does not affect your vibe. That's not a spiritual teaching. Like, you know, and this isn't a vegan agenda, but it was about meat. You know, meat is not a spiritual thing. But do you think that anything you put in your body affects your vibe, and it's, you know, it is actually connected to your spirituality?
Absolutely. Absolutely. And I think that's one of the biggest reasons that, you know, I went celibate for 2 years, and I was like, I didn't even want like to have those kind of relations until I, you know, was more clear on who I wanted to be in my life, or who I, you know, that I was, you know, being with somebody because I thought they were a good fit for my life, not because of lack of self-love or codependency or being attached. So, I mean, it comes down to that. Drinking alcohol, they call it spirits for a reason.
Right.
I do think that I think I'm not going to judge it, because I know a lot of great people who have like one or two, and maybe that's okay. Maybe it's healthy for you. For me, I'm not going to do it. For food, I went vegan for a year, but I was very uneducated about it. I'd done a little bit of research. I'm type O blood, and O positive. And I do feel like that I feel more viable when I do eat a little bit of meat. But, you know, I've got a book right here, Vegan for Life. So, I mean, these are some things: adrenal fatigue diet, and then medical medium, liver rescue book. This is a good one. For me, my diet's more about, I have to reduce a lot of fat because my liver, I put it through so much, needs to heal, and fat is really difficult to process through your liver. I do try to eat a lot of, you know, raw vegetables when I can. I don't do fast food. Anytime that I'm out to eat, I order, you know, I do have a dairy allergy, but I try to avoid dairy, gluten, and soy. Meat, I think that humans in general are very careless and thoughtless about their meat consumption. I do think that there is a healthy balance with it if it's something that you feel is right for you. But if you don't feel it's right for you, you can sustain on a vegan diet.
Yeah.
I don't feel like I can at this point, but I think maybe in the future, I would like to be full vegan, but not at the risk of, you know, me getting sick because I don't know how to properly, you know, feed myself and get all the right things, because it does take a lot of knowledge to feed yourself properly, and people don't realize how many of their health conditions are connected to their diet.
Yeah, we are in material bodies. We need to, if we can't get all the ormus that we need from the air and our meditation and being fully relaxed, then we definitely need to sustain these vessels as long as we're in them.
Right. And I try to avoid meat that's been farmed, or, you know, I try to do like organic, grass-fed, something that was, you know, humanely killed, because if you're, you know, just getting like the meat from Walmart, you know, there's a lot of, I think like, adrenaline that goes through that because of their process, whenever they,
hormones and all the shit that they feed them.
Yeah, yeah. So I think conscious meat eating is important if you're going to do it.
For sure. My awakening began with health. I was, looking at the Weston Price Foundation, raw milk, getting my health under control also. And in my
Hmm.
observation, like sugar is the most addictive.
Yes.
And it's usually the last thing we give up since it's like in
Yeah.
everything, including healthy food. So how do
Yes.
you address sugar in addition to the other foods you recognize as inhibiting the healing process, especially with having a child?
Um, just anything really processed. I do use like natural or honey that is that I get from the honey farm here. I also use a lot of their products that are made by the beeswax and the propolis essential oils and coconut oils. They make everything on site there. I love using their products. I've switched my deodorant. And actually detoxing from my deodorant was very painful.
Yeah.
It had like clogged up my glands. And so
Yeah.
when I stopped using it, it was very painful trying to get all those glands cleaned out.
Lemon
And
oil.
it's yeah, I used some a lot of different things, but it took about 2 months, and that really was an eye opener. Like, I'm never using regular deodorant again.
Dude, for years ago, I feel like I was the first one on the planet to say it. I was like, I bet breast cancer comes from our deodorant. Not only is
Oh
the
yeah.
fact that it's in the deodorant itself, but you're inhibiting like your biggest detox area. Well,
Right.
where's it gonna go?
Exactly. Yeah. And so I think and like my toothpaste,
Mhm.
I use a natural toothpaste now. My teeth probably they don't feel as clean, but I do, a lot of oil pulling with coconut
I was
oil.
just
And
gonna ask you, yeah.
so, I mean, I'm doing as much as I possibly can. I've got a whole cabinet full of standard processed supplements.
Hmm.
Um, we don't do Cokes. I drink tons of water, tea, um, let's see what else. I do a smoothie like every morning, mostly. So,
I hate to like totally stop this. There was one question I wanted to ask you from your podcast about you tried out for American Idol twice.
yes.
And you mentioned in there, you said something about your experience showed you that you didn't want to go to Hollywood. Do you want to like tell us a little more about that?
Well, I have a great aunt, my grandmother's sister, who she either had a record deal offer or she declined it or something. But she really kind of coached my parents from a young age that was like, don't send her to Hollywood because of all of the perverse things that go on there. They're like, it will corrupt her. It will just, that's not the route you want to go with her. And so the only reason that I tried out for American Idol is because I was just getting back into it. My mom supported it. But I got there and it was just a TV show.
Yeah.
It had nothing to do with talent. It had to do with ratings. So at that point, I flew to Florida to try out for it. And I was kind of disappointed, but not surprised. And then they had it in my city. I was in New Orleans at the time. And so I went to it and obviously didn't get back through, but it was a good place for me to start getting back into music after drifting away
Hmm.
from it. But yeah, I think it can be very corrupt. I prefer to be an indie artist. I don't want someone, monetizing my music other than myself.
Yeah.
I don't want to make a percentage of what, the energy that I put out. I feel like I'm capable enough to um, be the one who has all the say so in what I do. And I think having control over my own music is super important.
Yeah. I like psychology a lot. I always like
Mm-hmm.
to, think about, people and their personalities. And in my journey, I've come to become very familiar with the characteristics of sociopathic people,
Uh-huh.
which, that it's very broad and it's a very deep subject. And I'm not a psychologist or psychiatrist. I don't have a medical degree, but I do have a really strong intuition and a lot of life experience. And I think that people, if they stop and think about it, they realize, people with good heart, with purity like you have, and who are
Mm-hmm.
actually naturally talented, and like are intuitively good. You're channeling, you're connecting, your
Mm-hmm.
music is flowing through you, right? And so
Right.
people like you don't become famous because that ambition is not really about your talent. If people become
Right.
popular and well paid and famous, they're ambitious, and the things that they have to do and agree to get the fame,
Mm-hmm.
do you know what I mean? It's not about their talent.
Oh yeah.
And
Yeah.
it's
And me and
very
my daughter talk
underrated.
about that all the time because she's a musician also. And she's a Libra and she loves the attention. Like, I love being center stage and stuff. And she's, we've really talked about, the 27 Club, all of the like Kurt Cobain, Amy Winehouse, all of the Jim Morrison that have had overdoses when they were 27 years old. Overdoses. They get too big and they have a mind of their own and things happen. And I don't want to be on that level. I want to bypass that, move around the system.
Yeah.
I am, I want to be well known for what I do, not celebritized
Yes.
for what I do.
I think in 5D, which is the world we are creating with our positive vibes and including things like introducing each other on these videos and having conversation, is going to be more like, you guys are going to be our leaders in song, because
Mm-hmm.
we will have music. And when we get a lot of us together, people like you with talent, it raises us who aren't maybe as talented. I don't play an instrument. I love to sing, but I only can do it really well when other people are around. So that's
Yes. Yeah.
group thing, I don't know. That's how I see in the future, having intentional communities with all types of artists, including musical artists. And we
I
just,
love that.
yeah,
Yeah.
me too.
Yeah, we have like a really, tight knit yoga group here, and I work closely with the teacher, and we've talked about doing some yoga, like some songs that go with like the kriyas and things like that.
Mhm.
Um, so there, and I've talked about doing a little bit of sound healing or integrating Reiki into what I do. At this point, I don't feel so compelled to write. And I think a lot of that stems from not feeling the creative abilities so much with my instrument. I feel like it's something that I channel more with my voice. So like if I listen to like a lot of jazz music or instrumental stuff, and I can sit there sing, make up words to that stuff all day long. But when it comes down to like the actual instrumental part, I don't have that structure. I'm more like kind of loopy all over the place with, nothing that's like black and white, cut and dry. So like the mainstream way of music doesn't really vibe with me. So I do a lot of cover songs, but I don't, if you've ever listened to them, like none of them sound like the originals. They're all just kind of, my own renditions of how I feel the
Yeah.
music, how it's just how it comes out of me.
I'm sure that when you set the intention to go out there and, put your love energy into your work, you raise everybody's vibe in the place. You would have to.
I don't know. Yeah, I mean, I there, I play at a lot of restaurants or wineries. So my audiences are very different. Sometimes it's big groups and they just want to talk, so not everybody listens. But if I can get like a bunch of couples out there, they're more attentive of my listening and I have a better response to that. But everything that I do, I feel like it's very calming and relaxing, because my journey has been about like slowing down and relaxing and feeling things through. I used to be on Adderall for like 10 years just so I could function during the day, and then Xanax so that I could sleep at night. So I was so stressed out. So everything that comes out of me is just very just calming. And at some of the venues that I play for, maybe that's not what they need that night, but sometimes it just goes over so well.
Yeah.
And that's what makes it all perfect.
Yeah. That leads kind of right into my next question. What sets your heart on fire? Your words from your podcast.
Oh, what sets my heart on fire? I think anything that's just authentic, you know, any time that I see someone just displaying who they are and being honest and truthful, that is something that just really lights me up. Or someone who's, you know, living their passions and doing what they love. But honestly, if I'm in a place of gratitude, you know, sometimes we have that negative self-talk and it's hard to be like thankful. But anytime that I can just sit there and just be grateful, I almost start crying, you know, and I can just see the good and the positivity in anything. So it's really not hard to get my heart set on fire. But yeah.
Well, that's good. And this isn't something that I planned on asking you about, but something you mentioned earlier made me think maybe I should ask about the twin flame thing. Do you have anything to say about twin flame-ish?
I have a lot to say.
Okay.
I think that, you know, everyone's journey is different. And I think that the indoctrination that the twin flame journey is going to put you on this path to this one specific person and you're going to live happily ever after, I think that's a fantasy for me. I think there are a lot of twin flames out there that are in a relation, or use the term to stay attached to a person who's toxic for them. I think that there are twin flames that manifest in this reality and they have the relationship, but it's a lot of work.
Yeah.
And it's a lot of transformation on both of their parts. And I think that that's, you know, ideal. I think that that's, you know, maybe what it actually is. But I do think that a lot of people cling to those labels and it prevents them from healing. For me, whenever I decided that my experience was a twin flame experience, I attached and I obsessed. But it was the catalyst for me to look within myself and to heal. I let go of that label with that person. I've moved on. I'm in another relationship. It's my longest relationship of my actual life. And we'll be celebrating our 2-year anniversary next month. And and he's amazing. And it's a different kind of relationship. So I was celibate for 2 years, didn't date or anything. And then I decided, okay, I'm ready. So October 9th of 2018, I did my manifestation with the new moon and I wrote down all the traits that I wanted. And then 2 days later, he came to one of my gigs. And then I got to talking about him and there were so many things that we had in common, that I was like, okay, that's why I wrote everything down that I wanted, because that way I'd be able to recognize it and, you know, say, hey, I'm ready for this. Yeah. And we took it very slow. He's also a musician. He's a brilliant songwriter. And he lives 5 houses away from me.
Amazing.
So yes. And he has this amazing daughter who's on a journey of her own. I am so blessed to know her. She's amazing. She's into all the same things that I'm into. So that's been fun. He is not so much someone who practices spirituality, but it's there. I'm not sure where he's going to evolve with that, but I do feel like it's something that is a part of his life. But right now, I'm just kind of enjoying having a relationship with somebody who respects me and who is good to me. And he's, you know, he has his own history, and he is transformed incredibly throughout his life. And he was renting a house down the street from where I live, and then he just recently bought a house across the street from that house. And so it's kind of like we're solidifying, but not quite merging our lives, because I feel like both of us still need to maintain this independence about ourselves. He was a single father, raised his daughter. And it's just, we're focused on having a healthy relationship, which is something that I don't think either of us have ever had.
Yeah.
So no expectations. I don't know if we'll get married. I don't think we're going to have any kids. But I'm 33 now and he's 43. So both of us are very focused on, kind of solidifying our life in 3D, in like he has his own business. I have my own business, but for both musicians who aspire to travel and tour, but we have to ground ourselves so that we can take off and do that kind of thing. So I don't know where it's going to end up, but everything that I learned on my twin flame journey prepared me for this relationship. So I don't know, maybe that helps somebody, knowing that it's okay to let go of that label, because maybe that label isn't serving your best, highest self.
Yeah, I think that label might do more harm than good.
Okay.
Attached to it too. I mean, I interviewed David Hauser, and he calls it fated. There are karmic relationships, another kind of relationships, and fated relationships.
Okay.
And karmic relationships, they teach you the things that you need to heal. They're toxic, and fated relationships are the ones that help you to do that, but then your investment is returned, I guess.
Right.
That's not his
Yes.
words, those are my words, but
yeah.
it's
We can label these relationships anything that, soulmates, karmic, twin flames, twin souls, catalysts, just as long as you can recognize that this relationship is supposed to transform you and to teach you, that's just the most important thing, really.
It's all about evolution,
Yes.
On the other side, we're all one.
Yes.
It's like, I just want to make sure my child is still asleep. I got it. Woo-hoo. So if I may ask you, what is your advice for those that are newly awakening to the connection with everything that is?
Your tribe is here. We are here. We are awakening. We are waiting for you to step out and come connect with us. Get out into your communities and start talking to people, and let your higher self guide you to the type of places that you're going. Like, I always go to places like markets, community markets, little mom and pop shops, vegan restaurants, anything that you see someone is doing things a little bit alternative. Those people are probably a little bit more aligned with you than the people you're going to see at Walmart, So just put yourself in those settings, and then just put yourself out there, and don't be afraid to talk. Like you can throw some terms out there and see if people pick up on it. You can usually tell by the way someone, presents themselves, or the way that they dress, or, the type of accessories they have, if they're a little bit more bohemian or, naturally focused. But your people are here, and we are wanting to create this 5D consciousness. And to do that, we need you to get up and connect with us.
Yeah. And it's not out there. That 5D consciousness is coming through us. We're creating it.
Yes.
Raising your vibe is how you create it. Yeah. How about the people that are having a hard time? Do you have any advice for them?
It's part of it. Having a hard time is, I kind of, see myself as the wounded healer. And there's definitely like a transformative process, maybe like a caterpillar turning into a butterfly is one of the metaphors that's used. But you go into an isolation, but you don't stay there. You have to keep going and make that transformation, and then you bloom. None of it happens instantaneously, but it can happen in the matter of like 2 or 3 years in an amazing way if you stay focused. And everybody's journey is a little bit different. In some, it might take a little bit longer, but just stay focused on it, you know, allow it to be a part of your every single day life and not just something. One of the things that I learned that I did is that I used spirituality as escapism to escape my traumas. And so when I started working with, and another thing, if you can find somebody, whether it's online or in person to work with, that will speed up the process. Definitely.
Like a
And
coach.
yes, just like someone like you. Definitely. And right, plug. So having someone to work with definitely helps. I think there was something else I was gonna say. I can't remember now.
I'll give you a second.
But just hang in there. It's a journey, and it does take a little bit of time, and there's a lot of growing pains. It was about the escapism. One of the things we had to do is what she saw is that, like, I'm either living up here in like this spiritual realm, or I'm just like not fully present in my 3D life. Your 3D life is important because it grounds you. But there are a lot of things in the 3D that we don't need to be grounded with. So it's about finding that balance between your worlds. Because, you know, we're still humans. We still need to be fed and have, you know, somewhere to live. And we can't just like be talking to our spirits all the time, because we're on this earth for a reason. So anyway, just make sure that you have a healthy relationship with spirituality. And I think that's it. That was my issue, that I was just going off into la la land. But it was, you know, it was good time, and I needed to be there, but I needed to come back down too.
We need other people too, you know?
Yes.
I mean, yeah, spirit's great and stuff, but we're still here. We have to live, and we need other people. When you couldn't remember what you said, I touched my septarianism, septarian, about public speaking, and I said, I just touched it. I just got this intuitive thing, and I'm just telling you why we need people. I touched it and I said, help her remember. And you said, oh, and you remembered.
Yeah.
You know
and
what I mean?
It's all connected.
It's
All
all
of it
connected.
is.
It's all energetic, you know, each other.
Mm-hmm.
We lift each other up. We're constantly lifting each other up. And if you're around
Yes.
people that aren't lifting you up,
Mm-hmm.
doing the opposite, those aren't your people.
Right. That's correct. And it's okay to let go of relationships. When you let go of relationships, it makes room for something new. So if you're struggling with a relationship that just feels really toxic to you, let it go.
Yeah.
And it's not easy sometimes to let it go. And then, because it forces us to spend time alone in solitude. And sometimes we don't like our own company. But the closer you become to yourself, the closer you can get to other people.
Yeah, that's true. And it doesn't matter what their relationship with it is with those people.
Yep.
Or no
family does not matter. Does not matter. You are not binded to those people. You have free will, and you can make those decisions that are the best for you and your children, or the people that are actually close to you and good for you.
Thank you, Hilary.
Thank you.
Tell us where to find you. Where do we get in touch with you? Where do we find your content?
So I have a Facebook page. It's Hilary Marie. I think it's like facebook.com/Hilary Marie Official. And then I also have an Instagram, which is Hilary Marie Official. And I do have a personal Facebook page where I put out a lot, just because the algorithms are better on my personal Facebook page. If I don't know you, I probably won't accept it, but you can follow and still get all of my posts and be able to comment and like and all that stuff. It's just, you know, whenever you're a person that's, you know, kind of in the public, you got to be careful, because you'll end up with like a bunch of spammy people that you don't know. But yeah, you can definitely follow me on any of those.
And if you're not a spammy person, you can always make a non-spammy comment that connects.
Yes, absolutely. Because I'm also, I also love connecting with other people who are sharing their authentic self. And I really enjoy that, and I enjoy seeing it.
I don't think spammy people will be watching this video.
I don't think so. I don't think so. I get a lot of friend
Oh,
requests
no, I
sometimes.
know, no, no. I wasn't. Yeah, I know. Believe me, I think we all know. Like, even if
Yeah.
it's
I
like,
mean, one time I think I got a bunch of them from like Nigeria and India, and I was like, okay, accept, accept, accept. And then I was constantly getting phone calls on my messenger, like video calls at like 3 o'clock in the morning. Like someone's like, who's calling me? Took
right.
forever to move all that stuff off. So now I'm just very cautious.
I think we all understand.
Yeah,
But the way to get through is to just be yourself and not, and then
exactly.
connections happen.
And
Connect.
I can't, we met in some twin flame group, I think.
Yeah, I don't even remember. I don't
I
remember.
don't,
I was like, I like her. I don't remember how it happened, really, but
I don't either. And then my account got shut down because of all the spammy people. And then I remember like you were one that I consciously moved to my personal account, and I was like, no, I gotta keep her.
thank you. I felt so wanted. I've met people through you too, like Wendy and Evie.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I always try to connect, and I don't think we mentioned that, but in numerology, me and Christy are both life path number 11s,
11.
and one of the things that I've been learning about 11s is we're connectors, and so we like to get our network together, and we see things in people, and we put them together.
Yeah, for sure. I'm all about building an intentional community
Mm-hmm.
online for now, but also, I've got my eye on 100 acres in the mountains.
Ooh, in
And
the States.
yes, as soon as we can get back there, I want to come home,
Nice.
build a nest, put down some roots,
I love that.
attract people.
That's interesting. I didn't know. I mean, I knew you moved away. I didn't know you had intentions of coming back.
Yeah.
But I struggled with a long time living where I'm at because I just felt so miserable here.
Yeah.
And the more I came into myself, the more I'm like, I have a grid point here. Like I'm supposed to be here for a reason, and I can move around and travel. But I feel where I once felt just very suicidal, like, oh, I hate it here. There's none of my people are here.
Yeah.
I feel very connected to this place now. And the more that I get out and I connect with my community and my tribe, I just feel very sure that this is where I'm supposed to be for now.
Wow. Yeah.
Yeah.
I've moved a lot in my life. I've never really felt connected to a place in a way
Hmm.
that felt like I don't, this is where I want to be.
Right.
And I
Yeah.
think part of that is, something I need to integrate within myself, that, there is nowhere on this planet that I really want to be. But as long as I'm happy where I am in the moment, because that's all
Hmm.
there is the now,
Yeah.
and I'm not like living in the past or looking in the future, or, which, I'm still working on that, then I'm okay. I'm happy. I do want to align with, being in a place where there's, certain comforts. Like to get where I am now, I made a vision board.
Hmm.
Where I am now doesn't really have magazines in my language, or I don't really have access to that kind of thing,
Yeah.
and there's just certain things that I don't really feel like I'm here for a mission. I have an
Right.
intention to be here. I'm here for a purpose. I'm working on a major project. And I think that when I'm done with that project, I have this little piece of paper that's now my vision board that, it's like, there it is written on my wall. Just,
Nice.
you probably can't see it, but it's freedom and 100 acres and family. I want an RV and, unschooling and a big space, room to play, lots of laughter, joy, and healing and peace, in the mountains. I love trees
Right.
and mountains. I never thought I'd be anywhere but the beach, but really, I don't know who that was that really wanted the beach, because I like mountains and trees.
Yeah. Are you thinking like Colorado?
Mm. Yeah,
Yeah.
I have
That's not too
zero.
far from me.
I know. I know. I want to be, in the altitude. I like the mountains. And I
Yeah.
lived there when I was a kid, and I just have memories. And when I went to Virginia and I stayed there married, my intention was always get back to Denver, you know. Now Denver's too
Okay.
crowded for me, but
Oh yeah.
I've got this whole strip on Zillow that I'm checking out, you know, more south, like Colorado Springs, just north of New Mexico, in the mountains on the east side. Yeah, the east side
Look
of the
in
Rockies.
look into, and I don't know if it's up in the mountains as much as you'd want to be, but you should look into the Trinidad area. It's our it's an old coal mining town, and it's like our first, we have recreational marijuana in Colorado now, and it's the first city or the first town in Colorado that has, dispensaries. And so for that reason, this town has been revived, and
Mm,
I feel very connected to it because it's got that small town feel to it, but also that like where there's a ton of potential, like something is brewing there and it's going to pop up and become something, but still maintain its small town quality.
yeah,
So Trinidad, you might look it up.
it's popped up. I've seen, so I will definitely. I appreciate that. Yeah, it's hard because we're over here, so you know.
Right.
I can function over there. I know how to handle, you know, like it's very, very different here. I mean, there are things I love about being here in the
Mm-hmm.
Netherlands. And there are also things that I find, you know, a challenge, you know. Like one thing is
Yeah.
my countertop. Everybody here is tall. I'm 5 feet tall.
I am too.
Like my countertop is right here. So I'm like, I have to stand on a stool. I can't see the mirror in my bathroom. It's like right about here, the mirror.
Oh
Yeah,
no.
it's, you know, that's kind of
How
and
weird.
but you know what I mean?
And
I just I don't know. And the energy is interesting. And dealing
yeah.
like I could sell the hell out of things. I sold Eric's whole parents' house like in
Uh-huh.
2 weeks or 2 months, you know, I'm all about it. But here it's like different. And getting people to like do work, like our balcony, it took 2 years to get the balcony. And it's different, you know? It's
Yeah.
different. Like we've hired people and they can't get people to work for me here, you know?
Right.
I need home improvement. You know,
Right.
why is it so freaking difficult to get stuff done? I don't know. Maybe it's us.
Yeah.
I don't know. But yeah, sorry, I don't mean to complain, y'all. I just these are
Well,
the
you mentioned your vision board, and I wanted to touch on that a little bit because one of the practices that I was doing, like I was telling you how I, wrote down all the things about my current boyfriend and then he showed up 2 days later.
yeah,
That's a practice that I started doing with the new moon. And so
yes,
every time there's a new moon, I have this journal and I write down all the things that like I want to work on and
yes,
just kind of put it out there in the universe. And, like at full moon, I'll kind of look over it again, meditate, see where I'm at with it. And then the things that I don't get finished, from 1 month to the next, I'll move it over. And there are things like, I wanted to be able to pay all my bills with gigs. I wanted to go on vacation. I want to buy a house. I want to,
yes.
just all these different things. And they just come into fruition. And now I feel like I don't do it as much anymore because it's more like a conscious, manifestation that happens. And it's more almost like more instant now, like, oh, I want to do that. So I'm
Yeah.
going to put myself out there as that law of attraction and then here, get these phone calls. And so it's all about being intentional with what you want to do with your life, whether you're using a vision board, whether you're journaling it, whether you're writing it on a piece of paper and burning it, do make some sort of conscious practice to write down or, put out there what you want with your life and be intentional with your life, and you will see it manifest in front of your eyes.
You know how wise that is? That's spelling.
Exactly.
That's spelling.
Yes.
You're
Yes.
spelling. That's how Eric and I met. Literally, 2015. He made a list. He went through all these dating, trying to find, and he's like, I'm just gonna make a list. He made a list of all the qualities he wants in his partner. I did the same
Mm-hmm.
thing. I was like, all right, if anybody can be my soulmate, whatever. I don't know, it's a long story, but I wrote down a list too. I said, these
Yeah.
are the things that I want. I was married, so
Yeah.
Anyway, right after that, we found each other on Facebook.
That's amazing.
It's
It happens like that.
whirlwind. you're casting a spell. They burn us. They burned us at the stake
Right.
because it's powerful, and they don't want us to. They don't want y'all to know. I mean, whoever's watching this video, that's how you get your life where you want it to be. You write it
Yes.
down. You have the intention, and the physical writing it down is putting your intention out there for everyone to
Right.
align with. You bring it to
Right.
yourself, and faith is
And then
required.
you take action.
Yes.
And I mean, you can write it down all day, but if you don't put the action behind it, it's not going to drop itself on its doorstep. I mean, I don't know, my boyfriend kind of dropped himself, right in front of me at my gig, and then 5 houses down. So I don't know, maybe it does work like that.
Well, it's sort of like the programming works, right? You put down,
Mm-hmm.
this is how the whole COVID thing has worked, right? It's like they put it
Mm-hmm.
up there first 2 months. This is pain. This is dangerous. Be afraid. Be afraid. Now everybody's going along with it, and you can't tell them otherwise. That's a
Right.
program. So you're programming yourself when you write down,
Mm-hmm.
hey, this is what I want. You're like programming yourself to make yourself behave toward that outcome.
Yeah. Yeah. And
Feel
that's another thing that
happening, like,
we
oh,
do.
yeah.
And we do these energy healing sessions, and sometimes they take like 3 hours. I do this with Jennifer, and she'll put me down and put all these crystals all over me, um, and then she uses muscle testing, and she is guided to tell me what contracts that I have,
Yeah.
or what belief systems. And if it's like 5 or more belief systems, and it's a program, and I'll have issues with something, I'll go see her, and then like immediately, like, I'm okay. Like, I'm not, twirling in my mind anymore, going crazy over these programs, these beliefs. Like, people cling so much to their belief systems that they're like, they can't see anything outside of it. And I guess it's because if it's a belief system, that it's something that they're sure about and it gives them comfort. But sometimes those belief systems can really, really hurt you.
Yeah.
Like, I had the belief system, like, I'm not supposed to be with anybody except for my husband.
Mm-hmm.
And as being, a girl in this generation and divorced, I was carrying around guilt with not marrying the first person that I had intercourse with.
Mm-hmm.
At 30 years old, I'm still like putting myself down for that, because that was a belief system that was ingrained in me through religion.
Yep.
And I mean, there's many things like that. Like, I had guilt for not having relationships with my family members, or getting divorced, or, this or that. And it just creates so much negative emotion inside of me. And those emotions get stuck in your body. And whenever she, when we work on these belief systems, she'll say, find 3 places in your body where you feel that, and then create a symbol. And so it'll usually be my chakras.
Mm-hmm.
And so I'll create a symbol, like maybe a yin yang, or like a fire, anything like that. And then I place those symbols in me, and then I move them up, and I see them as far as they can go, and then I stamp them void, and I burn them in a violet flame. Mm-hmm. And then I watch the ashes fall through my grounding cord and send them to the core of the earth. Mm-hmm. And that is something that I've been using that for maybe 2.5 years now, and it has helped transform me so much, just breaking those contracts and clearing those belief systems.
That's magical.
Yes.
One thing I've ever started doing is rewriting my timeline, like traumatic events. Mm-hmm. Traumatic events that I still feel stuck in. Like in the memory, when it comes back, I cringe. So now I'm rewriting those. I'm rewriting, instead of staying and, allowing myself to be raped and violated, I recognized as soon as that person walked in the room, I need to leave. And when they did, mm-hmm. This is my rewriting, right? When they did, I said, thank you for having me. Peace out. It was great to see you. I'm going home, and I'm going to spend the rest of my weekend talking to my people that I love and doing whatever. And I rewrite the whole memory so that mm-hmm. thing that caused me so much trauma didn't happen. And then every time that memory comes back up, I'm remembering the new thing that I've created in my mind. So I'm rewriting my timeline.
That's interesting. And that's working.
Yeah. I mean,
nice.
Yes. I recently started it. So I'm still doing it. And yeah, it's funny because I'm telling you about it, I'm thinking about it. I don't really remember the details like I did before.
Right. It's funny how we attach ourselves to these memories and then we just keep experiencing what happened over and over and over. I had sleep paralysis for about 22 years, and the experience that I had since I was 7 was someone coming into my room, dark, shadowy, scary figure, touching on my leg, touching closer to where it wasn't supposed to be, and then me just like screaming to get out of it. And the moment that I acknowledged what I feel like was happening to me for all those years, or why that was manifesting, stopped. I have not had a sleep paralysis episode since then. It's the reason that I drank at night. It's the reason that I took Xanax at night. I was just so afraid of going to sleep.
Yeah.
I was tired, but I didn't want to be traumatized every time I went to sleep. And we had people come over and pray on the house and pray on the property, went to Christian counseling. So I told my parents, I'm like, this is happening. It's so terrifying. But the moment that I realized, like, something happened to me, you know, and it happened to me when I was young, and I feel like my mind protected me from it, but it still manifested in that dream state. But the moment that I was like, something happened, stop happening. It's crazy, huh?
It's spiritual.
It's very spiritual.
It's not religious. Religion
No.
doesn't have the answers to heal that kind of trauma.
No.
Yeah. Wow.
But we're through it now, so.
We're through it now. Yeah. And
Yeah.
we're going to continue to heal the anger, the religion that prevented us from getting it through it sooner.
Right.
We're going to keep clearing all of it. So,
yes.
yeah, it's a journey, one I'm happy to be on with friends like you.
Yes.
So I would like to thank you, Hilary, for joining me in this interview, and thank to everybody who watched and for adding your energy to the great awakening of this beautiful planet.
Yes, it was good. Thank you for having me.
Thank you. So I would just like to say to anyone watching this, if you also would like to share your experiences with the world in an interview like this for the purpose of expanding the collective consciousness, please do connect with me through whatever platforms you're listening or watching on from. Thank you.
Thanks.
Keep shining your light and being the change you wish to see on this earth. Namaste.